Today, we're diving into the story of a woman the world pretty much forgot, and the son who absolutely refused to let that happen. It's an unbelievable tale of honor, love, and a call for help that was answered in a way no one could have ever seen coming.
You know, some stories don't start with a big crash of thunder. This one starts quietly. It begins with the dignity of a life spent serving others, a life that, sadly, ended in silence. But trust me, that quiet start, it's just setting the stage for a seriously thunderous finish.
All right, so this is where it all kicks off. After his mother passed away, all alone, without the recognition she truly deserved, her son set out on a mission. He was going to give her the farewell she had earned, even if he had to find a whole new kind of family to make it happen.
I mean, this woman had spent her entire life giving everything she had, to kids, to her town, to literally anyone who needed it. But when her time came, the people you'd expect to be there, well, they just weren't. Her son felt she deserved nothing less than an army to see her off.
And this, right here, is where the story takes a turn nobody saw coming. Driven by grief, but also by this fierce determination, her son reached for a solution that was, well, unconventional. He sat down and started writing to a group of people he was convinced would understand the code his mother lived by.
He didn't hold back. He poured her entire life story onto the page, every good deed, every sacrifice. And then he sent that story in an email to 3 very specific motorcycle clubs, the Legionnaires, the Paladins, and the Hells Angels. To him, they were modern-day warriors, paladins, and knights.
And look, this was the whole reason he reached out to them. It wasn't random. He wrote to them because his mother always saw them as embodying this old-school code of honor, a sense of dignity and respect that, let's be honest, you don't see much anymore. He was appealing straight to that shared value.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? What kind of person inspires this kind of incredible, almost desperate act of love? To really get why this happened, you have to get to know the woman who earned it.
Okay, so let's talk about the woman they rode for, Mrs. StJohn. Because this isn't just a resume, you guys. This is a portrait of a woman with a will of iron and a heart of gold.
I mean, look at this. She taught art, sure, but it was way more than that. She was the kind of person who'd feed hungry kids right out of her own pocket, buy school supplies so no kid ever had to feel ashamed. She'd hire local teens just to keep them out of trouble. Even a double bypass heart attack couldn't stop her. Her life was just one long act of service. And get this, she was doing all of this while fighting her own battles. For her entire life, she only had one functioning eye. But did you ever hear her complain about it? Nope. She just got on with it. A true warrior.
I mean, come on, some of this sounds like it's straight out of a legend. Stitching up her own leg at 8 years old? Who does that? Painting giant murals with perfect depth perception when she literally had none. She was an adventurer, hiking Machu Picchu, traveling the world. She really was a force of nature. But her strength, her power, it wasn't the kind that shouts. It was this quiet, steady gravity she had. In this next story, it shows you exactly what I mean.
So picture this. A huge, imposing highway patrol officer walks into our hospital room, trying to project all this authority. And this small woman in a hospital bed just looks up at him and says, "Sweetie, take those sunglasses off." Not a question, just a fact. And you know what? He did it. No questions asked. Took them off immediately, and apparently he left that room completely disarmed, blushing like a kid who'd just been gently put in his place. That was her power. Not fear, but just this deep, instinctual respect.
But there's another layer to her story, and it's maybe the most important one. An incredible 50-year-long love story that shaped her entire life.
Her husband, wow, he was a genuine hero. A Navy pilot they called Saint, who flew these dangerous rescue missions back in Vietnam. He was taken from her way, way too soon, leaving her a young widow with a son to raise, all on her own.
Imagine being 28 years old, standing at your husband's grave and making a promise that you'll come back to him. And then, for 50 years, she kept that promise. She never remarried. His memory was always there. Her whole life was about getting back to him.
And this is how she saw it. She even told her son, "When I die, don't cry." For her, death wasn't an ending at all. It was the finish line. It was a homecoming. So, can you feel the weight of that? All of that life, that love, that strength, he poured it all into that email and hit send. He had no idea if anyone would even read it, let alone answer. But oh, they did. And then their replies started trickling in. Simple. To the point. We got your letter, we're listening. But that last line, that's the one that hits you. Brother, we ride for people like her. They knew. They recognized one of their own. Her son started to apologize, explain how guilty he felt about how things ended, but they cut him off. They were like, you don't know us anything. You honored her. Now let us honor her too. They got it. It wasn't about him. It was about her.
And then this message came through, the one that promised thunder. This wasn't just a few buddies showing up to be nice. This was a full-blown declaration that this quiet, forgotten woman was going to get a send-off so loud everyone would hear it.
So, what are we really looking at here? This incredible gesture. It wasn't just a funeral procession. It was a powerful statement about community, about dignity, and what it really truly means to honor a life.
Just think about that for a second. The people you'd think would be there, friends, family, the community she poured her heart into, they weren't there. And in their place, a brotherhood of strangers, bikers and veterans who'd never met her, but who understood her story in their bones. And please, don't miss this part. This wasn't charity. It wasn't pity. This was respect. The exact same kind she commanded from that highway patrol officer her whole life without ever raising her voice. This was justice being served.
So that leaves us with a question, right? What does honor actually look like? Maybe it's not always quiet and formal. Maybe, just maybe, sometimes honor looks like a column of steel and chrome. And maybe it sounds like the roar of 100 engines, shaking the very ground for a woman who quietly changed her world.